release from in the morning.
Hello and welcome to Paratalk with the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. Paratalk podcast contains explicit language, scary content, and adult humor. Parental discretion is advised.
It's time, once again, to join the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers for Paratalk. A wide-ranging, open discussion covering everything from UFOs to psychic phenomena, cryptozoology, to paranormal encounters. Do you have a question? Or perhaps you have an experience to share? Email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. That's 865-264-0448. And now, here's your host, Stephen Brown, with fellow ETGS members Steve Wiseman, Andrea Brown, Jesse Arms, Elsie Adams, and me, Mike Howard. Sit back, relax, and open your mind. It's time for Paratalk.
Hello and welcome to Paratalk. It is Friday, and I hope everybody is safe and in your house and doing what you're supposed to be doing. Because we are.
6 feet.
6 feet. Stay 6 feet apart.
One lightsaber distance away.
Yeah. Okay. I'm getting Mike on the line right now. So we will have Mike joining us.
Yay.
All right. And I think we got him.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, brother. How are you?
Good, man. How you?
Good. We are just getting started up and telling everybody that we hope everyone is doing good. They're staying safe and staying in their house and keeping 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
And washing them hands.
Wash your hands.
And your ass.
And not licking their neighbors.
Unless they're hot.
Oh,
Right,
yes, unless
yeah.
they're hot.
Oh, hey, look. Mike is actually video. Here, I'll put this here where Andrea can see.
Hey, don't look at me.
Yeah. Grab the phone.
I
That's
can't.
your job.
I'm in the
tonight.
bunker.
He's in the bunker. Mike is calling us from the bunker.
He's in the cave.
This is what the bunker looks like.
Nice. Nice.
You
I
see
would
in our
have cleaned it
bunker.
if I would have known I was going to have guests. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
And actually, the chat room is getting some buzz already. We've got...
What did you say?
What did you say?
Mandy.
Mandy is there. We have vacuum your couch. We have...
Vacuum your couch.
Yes. We have...
Wash your ass.
Adam, a.k.a. Hockey Man.
Hockey
Adam.
Man.
Yep.
Hockey man.
We got Muzz.
We got Piper with us again this week. We've got Mr. Matt Fioli joining
What's up,
us
Matt?
this week. We've got Muzz555. And we're back up to the top with Twat, did you say?
And a new one.
What did you say?
California Blondie 02. Or
Yeah.
CA Blondie. I'm assuming that's California.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what it is. Yeah. So, welcome, guys.
Does Wild Wacky Waving Hands guy have to watch it, Ralph?
Wacky waving hands guy. I'll wacky waving wash your ass guy.
That's good. That's good. Tonight we don't have Amy. She's taking care of a sick child.
Yeah, it's not Corona though. She's just sick, right?
Well, we don't know yet.
Okay, well, prayers go
They're
out.
treating
to...
her for bronchitis, but they're waiting on results.
Okay, well, yeah, prayers go out to Amy and her. Well, I would say little one, but she's not so
no,
little.
she's like 23.
Yeah,
22, 23.
yeah. Still, prayers go out. Yeah.
Hockey Man's drunk, too.
What's he saying?
Thanks for being drunk with me.
There
I'm
you
not
go.
drunk, man. Come on.
And Muzz says, are you guys washing asses now since toilet papers are out for a lot of people? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yes. and we found out that you can actually use your sock. You can use your sock, wash it out in the creek, and then throw it in the
Oh,
washer
my
to
gosh.
get that. And I mean, Steve has been back and forth to the creek like 42 times in the last 3 days.
I have.
So what happens if you don't have a creek?
Well, then you go take
You
water.
spit on it.
Get you one of them old wash tubs. Get you a wash tub. Put you some waters in it.
Or Muzz says, just use the sprinkler type stuff. We Muslims use LOL.
There you
There
go.
you go. Yeah.
Sweet. See, we're getting all kinds of
Yes.
helpful tips.
So,
Thanks, guys.
Wow.
So let me go ahead and do our little introduction. I'm Steven. Steven of Paratalk.
Good.
And to my right, I have my brother from another mother, Mr. Steve Wiseman.
What's happening, everybody?
And to my left, I have my beautiful little wife, Miss Andrea Brown.
Hello, everyone.
And over on the other side of the table, on my telephone, broadcasting from a bunker somewhere in the Southwest, we have Mr. Mike Howard.
Good morning and or good afternoon.
All right. So this week,
Thanks for hanging out with us, Piper. You don't need to sleep. You can just listen to us.
It's overrated.
what do you say? I was going to go to sleep, and I saw you guys went live, and I thought I had to listen. We appreciate that
So
very
much.
much. And if I remember,
Piper's listening all the way from Scotland,
yes,
by the way.
yeah,
Heck yeah.
yes. What time is it there right now? Because it's 8 o'clock here.
It's not 8.
It's not 8 there.
No.
No. I would
It's
think
like 1 a.m. somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. So
Oh. I don't have that tool right now.
you don't have that tool. That
Tool.
That
You're married to the tool.
Well, you know.
wah, wah.
It's after 1 a.m. over there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Good job, Steve.
No,
Damn Skippy.
Yeah.
they commented.
But I guessed it before
Oh,
that.
I
yeah.
guessed it before.
That's true.
Yeah. So this week we don't have a set topic.
No.
Last week when we ended the podcast, I said, because we had a couple of you guys saying that you had stories. And so I said we were going to devote the second half of the podcast to your stories. And that's still our full-on attention. So we're going to do that. But up until then, we've each,
But
minus-
not each.
minus Steve, because, Steve had too much going on and couldn't search for a topic.
He was busy.
Some of us are still working.
You got off at 1 o'clock yesterday. So, so we each got our own little quick topic to discuss, to bring to the table. And I say we start with eeny, meeny, miny, Andrea.
I knew that was going to happen.
Well,
Eeny, meeny, miny, Andrea.
yeah,
That's not how that goes.
I figured we would do that before you finish that beverage you have right in front of you.
That's probably a good thing.
Yes, it is.
So now I can read.
Yes. See, Mandy?
Planning.
Told you.
So my topic is kind of a fun one, more of a mythical topic. It's regarding fairies and nymphs.
Like nymphomaniacs?
We'll get to that later.
Okay.
So, yes. So, with fairies, most people think of fairies as tiny creatures flitting about on gossamer wings, armed with a wand. But history and folklore tell a different tale.
Do they? Do they really?
They so do.
Oh, my God.
How different.
Shh, listen. When belief in fairies was common, most people didn't like to call them by name, but instead referred to them as little people or hidden people. There are hundreds of different kinds of fairies. The oldest fairies on record in England were first described by the historian Gervase of Tilbury in the 13th century. He liked to describe them as such. Brownies and other hobgoblins are guardian fairies. They are useful. They do housework and odd jobs around the house. And living in the Scottish lowlands, they are hideous to look at, having no separate toes or fingers and having a hole instead of a nose.
Yeah, I just seen, not to interrupt you, but Muzz just said, let me turn on the lights. We talking about fairies. And then you just talk about, Scotland, being gruesome and
Right. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind having a brownie or a hobgoblin around if they help with housework.
Yeah, if they'll do housework,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
invited.
you got
Bring it
two
on.
back there in the bedroom.
They're just brownies.
Yeah, they're just brownies.
Yeah.
So the second, and this was kind of a new one for me to find out, banshees are fairies.
See,
What?
See, I didn't know that. Did you know that,
Me
Mike?
either.
No.
Yeah.
I did not know that a banshee was considered a fairy.
But the description of the banshees makes sense that we wouldn't necessarily put them in a fairy group because normally we think of fairies as being all cute little, Banshees, they are more sinister and usually only to foretell a tragedy. In Highland tradition, the wash...
Just so you know, Mandy's with us now.
Thank you.
Hey, Mandy.
Hello.
Hey. So, in the Highland tradition, the washer by the ford, a web-footed, one-nostrilled, buck-toothed hag is only seen washing bloodstained clothes when men are about to meet a violent death. So, I could see a banshee being that,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't see them as a fairy.
That sounds like half the single scene in Alabama.
Okay.
Well, Muzz says that sounds like my grandma.
And then also they've got the jack-o'-lantern or the will-o'-wisp. And this one is a highly dangerous fairy that haunts marshy ground, luring unwary travelers to their death in the bogs. So, completely different twist on what you would think of a fairy.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
But belief in fairies has not actually completely died out, actually. In 1962, a Somerset farmer's wife told how she lost her way on the Berkshire Downs and was put on the right track by a small man in green who appeared suddenly at her elbow and then disappeared. And also, a woman on holiday in Cornwall came across a small green man with a pointed hood and ears. So this was not like in the 13th century. This was in the 20th century.
Right.
That people have seen and experienced such
Fairies.
things as fairies.
Hmm.
So on to my next topic, which would be nymphs.
Oh, maniacs.
Shut up. A nymph is a blanket term encompassing female spirits of wild nature. The word nymph derives from nymphre, meaning bride, with the added implication that a girl is old enough to be considered sexually. Hence the old-fashioned derogatory pseudo-psychological term, nymphomaniac.
Oh my God!
Well played. Nymphs are not trivial, minor, or marginal spirits. Many are profoundly powerful and were once widely venerated, some with organized cults. Yeah, crazy, I know.
A cult of nymphomaniacs.
Where do I sign up?
Oh, I don't know. We'll look that up on the Google.
It's probably on Tinder.
Nymphs are possessing spirits. People prophesize accurately while being possessed by nymphs or under their influence. Nymphs in general are associated with healing and prophecy, and they are concerned with human reproduction, overseeing fertility, pregnancy, childbirth, childcare, and children. Gifts of the nymphs are musical talents, heightened sensitivity, ESP, psychic skills, prophetic ability, and eloquence. But they also express their displeasures by inflicting bad luck, infertility, impotence, and mental disorders, including insanity, depression, and there's a dog, depression, and the inability to find joy. they are sometimes blamed for drownings in rivers, springs, and wells. The most famous story of a person taken by nymphs was Hylas, the beautiful young man beloved to Heracles. Sorry. It happened while Hylas and Heracles were sailing towards Colchis with Jason and the Argonauts. Hylas went looking for water one evening, and the Naiad, which is also another word for nymph of the spring, fell in love with him. He bent over the spring. She put one arm around his neck, ready to kiss him, and pulled him in with her right hand. Heracles searched and raged, but Hylas was never seen again. So in general, nymphs appear as beautiful women, but many are skilled shapeshifters. Be prepared for surprises.
That's honestly, that's most of the women I know.
Hey. Ass.
I didn't say you. I said most.
Right.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mandy, you're not helping.
Bullshit.
But one other thing that I did read that I didn't mark down was that one of the folklore, or part of the folklore, is that because they are so in tune to the reproduction and fertility and all that, that what they would do is they would actually go into where babies are, they're sleeping. They actually take the babies and put a changeling in.
Really?
In its place. And they take that child and raise it as their own.
Wow.
Very
interesting.
It is. It's just one of those weird things, but whether you believe them or not, it kind of gives you a little
something.
A little something to think about.
Yeah.
That there could be actual such things as fairies and nymphs. I mean, the basis of most stories have some type of truth to them.
Right.
I guess the basis of most stories have some truth.
Some truth to them. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how did they even come up with this if they didn't see or experience it? So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Good job. Good job. So, Mike.
Yes.
Your thought on nymphs and fairies. You're
not necessarily nymphomaniacs,
right.
but nymphs.
But I mean, you're pretty well traveled. You've lived here, there, and everywhere. Including the bunker you're in right now, somewhere hidden in the Southwest.
Yes.
Yes. What's your thought, and what are possibly some stories you may have heard on nymphs and fairies?
Well, I did not know. For some reason I thought that nymphs were a type of fairy. I didn't realize they were separate. They were separate things. Fairies are a very big thing across the pond in the United Kingdom. In fact, they still talk a lot about fairies in the United Kingdom. If there are ghosts and spirits and poltergeists and demons, I don't see why there can't be fairies and nymphs as well. Sure. I think it's completely within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, anything is possible.
Yeah. And Mandy, since we have you on the line, have you guys on Vodka and Ghost? Did you guys do any research on fairies or nymphs?
We did actually during our St. Patrick's Day stuff last year. We actually talked to Eddie Lenahan. He is I think it's called a Shawnahai. He's one of the last living storytellers that talks about Irish folklore. And there's a lot of people in Ireland who still believe in fairies, like changelings and that whole thing. So I haven't looked, I don't know too much about them, but I know most fairies, at least in Irish folklore, are considered evil.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's kind of why most people, that's why I kind of wanted to preface that by saying that most people do just think of fairies as being, like Tinkerbell, because that's how they're normally portrayed. Yeah. But
Disney does that with so much stuff, and really all those stories that Disney portrays were super dark to begin with.
That is very true. That is very true.
So, Steve, what's your thoughts?
I ain't got any. I don't know. I've never believed in fairies or nymphs. I don't know. I suppose it's possible.
What about the little bastard sitting on your shoulder?
That's fine.
Okay.
He don't eat much.
and also like nymphs are nature. You
Right.
know, they belong in nature. They are, you know, there's actually several different there was so much more information on nymphs that I had no idea, but there's different types and they all have different names, and there's water nymphs, there's
So they're basically elementals.
yeah, I mean it's water, nature, earth, trees.
Right.
I really can't even remember all of them, but there were a ton of them, and I was just like, really? I don't know. It was an interesting topic that I got to learn a little bit more about.
Okay, I'm going to hit the message board here real quick. Just so Muzz555 says, nymphs are pretty cool. I'm sure men would try to have sex with them, even if they knew they were shape-shifting demons.
I agree.
Yeah,
I do agree.
you're probably right there, Muzz. And then Piper says, fairies are cool. Here in Scotland, they can be mischievous.
See, that is why I really feel like I'm meant to be over there.
Yeah.
Because I want to be over there.
You want to be over there?
I want to be over there.
Like, over there.
Over there.
Yeah. She's like waving her hand.
I'm
Like,
like,
over there.
over there.
I want to go over there. Oh.
Take me to, you know, the great land
Mm.
of Ireland and
Scotland.
and I want all of that.
I'll go with you.
Yes.
It'll be so fun.
Plane trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can get me a tranquilizer and I'll go too.
We can have that
Now,
arranged.
I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but I've caught it on Paranormal Caught on Camera, and it's been on several different shows. But I guess it was back from about 2012, 2010. There was a father with his kids running around they're out in their backyard, and I believe they were in England, and they had this camera, and they were running around filming stuff, and they run toward a tree, and suddenly there's something that looks like a small human form with dragonfly-like wings that moves on the tree and then flies away.
I saw
And
that.
if you search YouTube and I just punch in fairy caught on camera, it'll come up. And some people say it's computer generated, that it's all. But the thing is, you watch it, it looks it doesn't look like a CGI. It looks very, very strange because it's got incredibly long legs, but it has a human torso and a head, and it moves, and then it gets up and flies off this tree. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was two dragonflies mid-coitus or what, but it looks like what you think a fairy would look like.
Right.
And
It really did. I remember
check it out
seeing that.
sometime. It's crazy. It's a crazy video.
Yeah. So, let me see here. What did we miss here on the message board? Will we get to demons and ghosts eventually? Says Muzzy. Yes, I'm sure we will. Those always seem to show up. And T Salt keeps moving. T Swifty says, would you think that Lady in the Lake would be considered a nymph?
It could be. I mean, I guess depending on if.
Yeah, but when I think Lady in the Lake, it's just like the woman in white. That's a ghost. I think.
Like
that's my opinion.
Morning.
Yeah.
A morning woman.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the lady in the lake was a mermaid.
And,
It's an ocean.
that's the ocean, Steve. Lady in the ocean.
They have
Maybe she
they have
got
freshwater
caught
mermaids.
going upstream.
Freshwater mermaid.
Those,
Freshwater
my-
mermaid.
That's my next topic. Freshwater mermaids.
those guys, really? Those are called carp. Yeah. Yeah, and then vacuum my room, your room. Holy
Your
shit.
couch.
Thank you, Steve. Vacuum your couch says, I also remember a ton of different claim sightings that someone always has to pick apart. Yeah, you're always going to have people pick stuff apart.
Always.
And T Swifty said, YouTube what? Mike, can you give her or him or whoever that is? Could you give T Swifty that the thing to look up on YouTube to see that fairy?
Yeah, I'll share it right now.
Okay, sweet. He's going to share it right here on the page.
And Piper,
Yep.
Thank you. I look forward to meeting you. Thanks.
Wait till the coronavirus calms down. Yeah. Okay, so.
What is your topic for tonight, Stephen?
No, we're going to Mike.
Oh, what is your topic for the night, Mike?
After Mike gets through posting this, he's posting this link on here.
Oh, me?
So, yes.
Actually, I was with this whole quarantine thing that we're all a part of now, and being trapped in the house or wherever we happen to be. It's given me a lot of time it's given us all a little extra time to watch probably more TV than we ever thought we would before. So I've been able to catch up on some things that I wanted to watch. And my topic actually came to me last night while I sat and watched for about 90 minutes Demon House. Have you all seen Demon House?
Yes.
Yes.
Zach Baggins' Demon House.
Zach Baggins.
I love me some Zach Baggins.
Now, let me preface this by saying I am in no way, shape, or form in any inkling a fan of Zach Baggins. Not at all.
Right.
I don't like any of the stuff that he does. His show is entertaining, but I don't believe any of it because I know that most of it now is either restaged or it's pumped up
He has
to make
nice
it more
hair.
entertaining. Yeah. Huh?
He has nice hair.
Yeah. But the problem I found with the show last night, and if you've not seen it, yeah, you all have seen it, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely. The best part's the end.
Yeah. The thing, and of course it explains why his eyes got messed up, which I'm sorry, but I don't think his eyes are messed up. I think it was all done for the camera. In fact, I think I ended the 90 minutes thinking the entire thing was done entirely for the camera. And it was done basically to package a longer version of his show. And especially when somebody starts off by saying, I am the foremost investigator of paranormal in the world. And, before he had his show on TV, nobody heard of him. Nobody knew who the guy was.
We're talking about Demon House. It's a movie. Sorry, Mike. Muzz was wanting to know what we're talking about. It's Demon House. It's the movie that Zach Baggins put out.
And it was about a house that supposedly is considered to be one of the most haunted houses in America. It was up in Gary, Indiana. It was a few years ago. I think 2015, 2016 is when they tore the house down. But it led me to this topic. Anyone who's seen that or has watched the show or anything, seen Demon House and claims to be one of the most haunted houses ever, the most evil house in America. We've all gotten into paranormal investigating by one form or another, but there's probably some story somewhere in our past that we heard when we were a kid or we heard when we were a teenager, and it drew us in and it freaked us out. For me, it was the Amityville Horror. It scared the living hell out of me. And then as I got older, I actually started doing more research in it. And I wonder, of all these really famous hauntings and famous cases and things that have gone on, now as we look back, just because we look at them now through a lens of we've had very strange experiences in different places. Right. And we've been to places where we've experienced things that were very, very hard to explain, that were, above the normal, that were supernatural, that were paranormal, that we're still trying to find some explanation for, whether it's Morris Mills or South Pittsburgh or Hales Bar, or any of these places. Now that we look back on these very, very famous cases like Amityville or something like a Demon House or any of the Warrens cases, things like that, how many of them now do you guys think were absolute hoaxes that were just made up to either sell a book or sell a movie or whatever?
Okay.
Or do you think they were real?
See, I know one that it was haunted, and it's a huge case, but the Warrens claimed they were the ones that did the investigation, and they were not. And that was the Enfield poltergeist over in the UK. It's what Conjuring 2 was based on. And that was not the Warrens that did that investigation. Ed went there and was met at the door by Guy, what was his last name? Guy something. I can't remember his last name. But he was met at the door by him, and Ed told him, I can make you a lot of money off this case.
Right.
And he's like, no, that's not why I'm here. You can pack your shit up and go back to America. And, you know, but then they write this book and say they did the investigation. They make this movie and, you know, claims that they did the investigation when they were not the ones that did it. Amityville, I want
You want to believe
I
it.
want to believe everything.
Oh, me
about-
too.
Yeah, because I'm like you. Amityville was that movie that was just like, oh my God, yes, you know.
Well, and the sad thing is that I would have to say that each one of these locations that is widely known, that have had movies made about them, have had shows, have had these big investigators go in, they do have some type of activity. But when you put certain people into, you know, when certain people present these cases, they're either not really trustworthy. They've all, you know, there's always been something that, you know, has been brought up from the past about them lying, you know, so it all really depends on, you know, the view, you know, how it's being presented to you. But I would almost guarantee that every single one of these locations does have some insane activity, some insane hauntings, but because of, you know, the Zach Baggins of the world, the Ed Warrens of the world, who have had great, you know, great experiences, but they have been known to forge, so to speak. It puts a bad light, so you don't want, you know, it makes you not believe anything at that point.
The trust is gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've lost your trust for that person's credibility.
Right.
Well, like, and you know, when we go in to investigate someplace, we go in to see how much of it we can either debunk or explain.
Yeah.
And then what's left after that is the stuff that is paranormal, the stuff that is above the normal or beyond the natural that we can't explain, and we try to find some reason for. And I was very, very excited last year when I got to go down to Savannah and go through the Weed Sorrel House. I was, you know, I'd heard all this stuff about the Weed Sorrel House. I'd seen it on all the different TV shows and different investigations of it. I went down there, and the problem was, as I walked in, I flipped on my EMF, and after, you know, hearing the whole story about the house and the fact that up until about the early 70s, they had transferred, they had changed this house from a residence into a department store. And they hung all these overhead lights in there, and they were trying to redo some of the old wiring, because it had the old wiring from when, you know, from when Savannah was, you know, one of the first electric cities in the United States. So as you walk into the house, it is literally an entire EMF box. The entire house is just nothing but just blistering EMF. And I'm thinking, well, that explains why you're going to see all this stuff and why people are experiencing all this weird stuff. So it kind of broke it for me. And then as I got older and started to read more about the Amityville horror, and I started noticing that the Warrens were tied into a lot of these stories that ended up being kind of iffy after a while. And the thing with Amityville, I think that the original murder, the DeFeo family murder in '74, I think that holds more paranormal stuff than anything the Lutzes ever did.
Oh yeah.
Or anything the Lutzes
totally.
ever talked about. You know, because you got 23-year-old Butch DeFeo walking through, shooting his entire family, 5 different members of his family, with a shotgun, and nobody ever wakes up. Nobody hears anything, not only in the house, but in the neighborhood as well, in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You know, that to me goes, how do you explain that? As opposed to, green slime oozing from the walls and red eye creature and flies attacking the priest and all the stuff that made for a great 1977 book and a 79 movie that really probably ended up being nothing more than the Lutches trying to make a buck off of somebody.
Right.
And that led me to Demon House last night. I sat there and went, I wish this stuff was really real, but I thought by the end of the movie that it was all made up. And then the easy way to finish it was, how do we do this now? Oh, let's tear the entire house down. So there's no way you can ever go back in there and check it out. But just so we can make a buck off of it, you can now go and for $48, you can pay to go through Zach's museum. And there's a room in there where he has conveniently taken some of the dirt that was in the house. He has taken the basement stairs and the basement door, and it's all set up as an exhibit as part of his museum.
Yeah.
And it makes me kind of wonder if it was really real or not.
Right. Yeah. I totally get that. Totally get that.
Well, and that kind of leads me back to the whole, I don't doubt that there was any kind of activity because of these, I guess, the stories from the families that have lived in it, right?
Right.
I don't doubt that there was activity in there, but once again, we're led to, believing, the credibility of somebody who has been known to.
The credibility of Zach Baggins.
Doctor evidence.
Yeah.
Right. Fabricate things and whatnot.
Well, see, and that's like the Amityville house, since the Lutzes moved out, everyone that's been in the house since then, no one has said that anything has happened.
Yeah.
Right.
It just apparently went away with the Lutzes.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that goes back to like Ghost Hunters when they did their live special at Waverly Hills.
Yeah.
And they, Grant and Jason are walking down the hall and you see Grant's jacket get pulled back, and you can clearly see the fishing line.
Yeah.
Attached to his jacket, and I lost complete respect for those guys after I saw that.
Yeah.
I know, Mandy, you love Zach.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, Mandy's pissed. I'm biting my tongue. LOL.
Yeah.
Well,
Not just about that, about all cases. Oh, it's so tough for me. I've had like half a bottle of vodka, so.
Well,
that
dude,
it?
tell us your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Share your thoughts on that, for real.
So, okay, I'm not even Zach Baggins. I mean, he's fun to look at. The show's fun to look at. But with Demon House, so Alicia and I covered that story on one of our podcast episodes. And nothing to do with Zach Baggins, like to do with the actual Amons family. Mm-hmm. There's things that happened in the hospital. I mean, real shit happened. Like the Child Protective Services was called on the mom and all this stuff, and
right.
But and that's documented. And there's documented stuff from the nurses at the hospital and the Child Protective Service workers, where they saw the kids do stuff that is unexplainable. They saw. I mean, I don't even want people are gonna think I'm like nuts, but there's a hospital nurse and one of the Child Protective Service agents there when this kid fucking walked up a wall. Sorry, I probably shouldn't be cussing, so we're live.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
You're fine.
Yeah. This is our podcast, remember?
But this, I mean, nothing to do with Ghost Adventures, but like if you go back and look at like all the stuff from the actual case.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
They were actually taken away from their mom. And then the Child Protective Services called in someone to exorcise these kids at the hospital. The nurses called that stuff in too. And they saw so much stuff they could not explain. And they lived in that house,
Well, and once again, that kind of leads to the whole, there's no doubt that something is happening in these locations. But when you have somebody that has been known to fabricate things, presenting something such as this movie called Demon House, and,
for profit,
and then tearing the house down. So, I mean, granted,
and now setting up a room to come visit the
Right.
dirt.
It's
for profit.
almost like, you know, it's,
Yeah, but see,
whether or not something actually happened to him, it's the problem of, can you trust that what has happened to him really did happen?
Yeah, because like the stories, like the stuff that Mandy was talking about, I read that stuff online, you know, a year and a half before Zach Bagans' name was ever attached to this house.
same, me too.
And like, you know, it was on, oh my gosh, what was this show? It was one of those little tabloid TV news shows, Inside Edition or something like that. It was on there, you know, and they were talking with the Child Protective Services. They talked to a couple law enforcement officers. And so, like, the claims of the house being haunted and the shit that the family went through there, I don't doubt that. But
Right.
I'm with Mike. The shit that Zach put in Demon House, I don't see that. I mean, because number one, every episode of Ghost Adventures you watch, when shit gets real, what happens?
It's Aaron that's in there.
Aaron, go in there and do that. It's not.
But that proves to me that it's real because Zach is too afraid to even go towards it.
Right. So you think Zach is going to go in this house that is super crazy haunted by himself and have them board the windows and doors up and him sit in there?
Hell.
But why do you
no.
think he had it torn down? He was too afraid.
Well, the thing that pissed me off so much too at the end of that movie is not only the fact that he tore it down, but if you watch the movie from the beginning to the end, the whole story is not about the house. It's about Zach makes it about himself.
Oh, yeah.
Because it starts off with this dream I had of this giant 12-foot tall goat man.
Yeah.
And then supposedly it tries to tie it back into that's what he sees come out of the wall in the house when he's there. And it has nothing to do with anything really that the family went through, except for a few times when he mentions something here or there about it. It's always back to what happened to him and his crew and all this stuff. And again, it makes me really wonder how many of these places and things that we've heard about for so many years, how much of them are really true, how much of them are just can be explained away, how many of these things are just somebody trying to make a buck or get some fame off of it. Whereas we've all seen stuff that you go, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
how can we
exactly,
explain that? And nobody's talking about that. We're not trying to make a buck off of it. You know?
I think that's why it's so important as paranormal investigators to listen to other paranormal groups instead of trying to rely on investigating something solely based on a TV show. You know, you want to investigate somewhere that you know people that have been there, they've experienced things, you know, they're not out to make a buck. They're doing what we're doing. You know, we're doing it, you know, because we love it.
We're doing it because we love it. We're doing it, you know, and our residentials, we do that to help families because,
right.
You know, all of us on our team, we all experience shit growing up.
But I like to hear other investigators say, hey, you know, there's this really awesome old, you know, abandoned hospital in, you know, town XYZ that I think that we had a crazy experience at. I think it would be great for you guys to go check that out, as opposed to, hey, you know, TV show says that this place is incredibly haunted. You should go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
I mean, I'm not saying, I think Zach Bagans doing Demon House took the credibility away from the real case.
Oh, yeah.
I do. But I do think something really fucked up happened in that house, in the hospital, you know. I don't know. Infield, I think, might be a hoax.
You think Infield was a hoax?
I do. I mean, we did a story on it, and at the end, there was stuff that can't be explained. But, like, some of, like, the stuff the little girl, Janet, was found doing, she was, like, recorded bending spoons and throwing tables and crap like that.
Right.
She took credibility away from it there.
Yeah, she did.
And she's really just a strange person in general. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there are things that can't be explained there if they're true facts. But for the most part, she gave me the most doubt.
Right.
You know, I don't know, but I'll try and keep my mouth shut.
No. I mean,
You're fine.
that's why we do this. That's why we like having people call in, because doing this and having someone else come in, that
Right.
gets us that debate going on that we freaking love about this, you know, and that's why we.
Well,
do
I'm
the
pretty
podcast.
sure this
Yeah.
hasn't exactly been a debate because we're pretty much in agreement.
Well, yeah, we are. Yeah. All across the board. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead. I still had you muted.
Oh, that's right. I was saying all across the board,
Yeah.
you know, as far as everybody in agreement.
Yeah.
That's true, Rod.
What?
Rod said, unfortunately, many investigators claim anything not readily explained as paranormal.
Yeah.
And you're right. He says something from another unknown investigator is always suspect. I do agree to that, but I think I would much rather go and investigate a location that another group has been to as opposed to jumping to a TV show's. I don't want to, honestly, as much as I'd love to go visit the Queen Mary, I'm not going to pay all that money to go out there. And that's travel too. But like all these big locations that these TV shows have gone to, you know, now that they're popular, they're costing a lot more money. And because they have been known to fabricate in each of it, you know, almost every show, I'm not going to go into one of those. But tell me that there is an abandoned hospital, you know, 2 hours away.
Right.
And somebody's experienced some crazy crap there. All right, I'll go.
Yeah, I mean, like one of the most active locations we went to, the old Fayetteville Hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that place, it was on Ghost Adventures, but we were there before Ghost Adventures was the first time. So, I mean, we knew that place was batshit crazy from the get-go.
Yeah.
I mean, that place was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
Well, another thing gets me too is I was sitting around yesterday and they were running the original Ghost Hunters marathon, and I just happened to catch. It was about 10 minutes into it, but I happened to catch their original Hales Bar investigation.
Oh yeah,
and as much time as we've spent going through that entire place, that entire complex, if you watch it, they catch some really interesting stuff. But at the same time, I don't know if you've ever sat down and really watched it again, but it's like they only go to about two or three places in the entire complex, and they catch a few little things and get some little bumps and some different questionable stuff. Whereas when we've gone through that whole place and we've talked about it before, it changes every single time you walk in there, but it's always
definitely.
something going on
Every time.
Yeah, you know, and they never went up on the upper floors of Building 2. They went into Building 2 on the ground floor, but that's as far as they went there.
Upper floor,
and that was
second floor of Building 2.
one of the most active locations at that place.
Yeah. Second and third floor of Building 2 was ridiculous.
Well, and see, another thing that we do have to consider is that these are TV shows. They have an allotted time to show what, they have an allotted time to show what they've captured. I guess my concern about watching these and other people believing all this is that they do have this a lot of time. It's an hour long, and they always catch something. How many times have we gone somewhere and not caught a thing?
Yeah, probably more times than we've come home with evidence.
Oh, yeah.
We sit there for hours, 8 hours.
10 hours, 12 hours.
Yeah, in the dark and catch absolutely nothing. And it just baffles me that,
every location
every
they go
single
to.
location there's something.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I've never been to the, out west. I've never investigated anything out west.
Well, see, that's one thing I will give Ghost Hunters, especially after the Waverly Hills debacle.
Mm-hmm.
They would have shows where they caught nothing.
Right.
And they'll tell their people, the host, and they'll say, we didn't really catch anything, but, you can't really turn it on like a switch.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And like Rod says, TV shows are entertainment only, not to be assumed, Not to be assumed that they are representative of all investigations.
Exactly.
Well put.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rod.
All right. So I guess we'll come to me now.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to flip this shit on its head.
He's super excited.
I'm super excited.
This is his forte.
Yeah. Well, not really, but it's something I'm totally interested in. And we have not.
Gay midget porn?
Yes, finally.
Yeah. Are you ready, Mike?
Wait,
With fairies.
Gay midget porn with fairies and Zach Baggins.
oh God.
I thought he was the gay midget.
No, he's their nymph.
Stop hating on my Zach.
Zach who?
He sure is pretty.
All right.
You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah. So, okay. So my topic this week is something that we haven't discussed on the podcast ever. In 50 episodes, we have never discussed this.
Oh, yeah, this is 51.
Yes, this is episode 51. And we've never discussed this, and I'm super excited. So, tonight, we're going to talk about the Phoenix Lights.
The Phoenix Lights.
Yes, the Phoenix Lights. So, let me give you guys a little breakdown on the Phoenix Lights. March 13th, 1997 is one of the most controversial dates in UFO history. Second only to July 2nd, 1947. And we know what that was, right? Class. No one knows.
Something about lights.
No.
What was it? What was the date? I didn't hear the date.
July 2nd, 1947.
Oh, that was the abduction of who were they? The couple.
No.
No.
1947.
Roswell? Aliens?
Roswell.
New Mexico?
Oh,
Roswell.
Roswell.
Yes.
Good job, Rod.
Yes.
You get an A.
1947, when a rancher named Mac Brazel and others reportedly hearing a loud crash during the night near Corona, New Mexico. Wow, Corona.
Oh, my gosh.
Holy shit. Yeah, Corona, New Mexico. Which...
What a coinkydink, man.
For real. Which came...
That's where the damn virus came
That's
from.
it.
Fucking alien.
Blame it on the alien.
Which came to be known as the Roswell incident. Unlike that date in 1947, the 1997 event was witnessed by what appears to be thousands of people, including Hollywood's own Kurt Russell.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, we all know Kurt Russell. He's a licensed pilot, and apparently he was flying that night.
In 1947?
No, 1997.
I actually didn't know that he was a licensed pilot.
Yes.
He looks
didn't
good
either.
for his age.
Yeah. But he was flying that night, and he saw the lights, and he called to the tower, and they didn't see anything on radar. But they saw the lights as well, and we'll get into that too. So on the evening of March 13th, 1997, at about 10 p.m., under a clear sky with no breeze, a string of lights appeared in the southwest. The orb seemed to be in a form of a flattened V shape, like a boomerang. They appeared to be motionless or traveling so slowly that the movement was imperceptible. So you look up, you're sitting on your balcony, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no, Kurt Russell wasn't alive. That's not what I said. I was like, Kurt Russell was born in 1951, though. No, this was 1997.
Not the 1947 issue.
No, 1947 was Roswell. 1997 was the Phoenix Lights. Come on, class. Keep up.
All right, over there.
Who?
It's okay, Muzz.
No. It sounds like Mandy's having a wrestling match.
I think she's playing Spin the Bottle.
She probably is.
Does my phone sound weird?
Yeah.
Does it still sound weird?
No, not now. No, it was just, it sounded like you were playing Spin the Bottle.
Someone's walking upstairs.
It was either that or, playing I Can't Hold On to the Vodka Bottle.
I can't get plugged in.
All right, so the lights shimmered for 5 to 10 minutes and were seen by hundreds and likely thousands of people. In the days to come, air traffic controllers from Sky Harbor International Airport would tell reporters and UFO investigators that they spotted nothing on radar. Officials at the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson would report that no military maneuvers were taking place that night at the Barry M. Goldwater Range to the west of Gala Bend. And they would change their story 2 months later, saying that a person on duty that night failed to log properly in the logbook that they were doing flares. They were dropping flares out of an airplane.
Lies.
All lies. And so, my question, and a lot of others, is how? How are these flares going to fall and remain in a straight line? Number one. How's that? I mean, even if there is no wind, these flares are going to burn, and one's going to speed up a little bit past.
Yeah, they're not all going to burn at the same.
No.
There's always
Yeah.
a trail, like a chemtrail.
Yeah. I mean, from it burning the gases off.
Yeah.
I remember watching Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, and they were doing something with lights from a possible UFO sighting, and someone had said it was possibly flares. So they went up and they dropped flares, and they matched the videos up. The flares, you can see that trail. You can see the gases burning, and from the heat, it illuminates,
Right.
and you can see that trail.
Hey, just to fill you in, that Rod said that he just saw an article that a string of lights were visible off the coast of Southern California for about 45 minutes in March of this year.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, as a matter of fact, I saw that article, and I think it was the same day I saw on the news that there was a lot of reports of strings of lights up around Cincinnati as well.
We had that here in Fauquier County where I live just like a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
It's like Independence Day.
It is. It's like Independence Day.
So their excuse for it, though, is that they were launching satellites into space, and it was probably about 12 of them in a straight line. These lights just going through the sky.
That's the same as the videos I saw from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they.
Andrea, before I go on, read Muzz's comments there.
Muzz said that there was a Joe Rogan podcast where he and an engineer scientist talk about extraterrestrial machinery. They said they 100% believe in aliens and think the world would shit itself if there are intellectual life forms other than us. I agree.
And then Muzz said, I just don't get why aliens only visit America. But they don't.
No, they don't.
There's been videos of like the lights and stuff over pyramids in Egypt, in the deserts.
Moscow.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Paris.
everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, we don't necessarily, that's not the type of news that is spread,
Right.
widely.
Unless you're looking for it on
Yeah.
YouTube.
So
You look for
All
it
right,
on
can
YouTube.
I play devil's advocate now?
You can. Go
Do it.
jump in there.
do it.
Because I love UFOs. I've always been very interested in UFOs. I think that there are, and I'm very happy to expect that there are smarter life forms out there. I hope that there are smarter life forms out there than us, because
Dear God,
we're not that
please
smart a
let
lot
there
of
be.
times.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a couple days after the Phoenix Lights incident
Mm-hmm.
in Phoenix, there was a guy that came out and claimed that he actually was the one that did the hoax. And apparently his neighbor saw him doing it again in 2008 when there was another report of lights as well. That same year, there were a report of lights in Stephenville, Texas. And then they had another type of report in Morristown, New Jersey in 2009. Now, the Morristown, New Jersey one was ruled a hoax, and they actually caught the people that did it. But this guy claims that what he did was he had tied a series of large helium balloons to road flares and then sent them up in the air a minute after each other. And they would float up basically in, whatever pattern he's releasing.
Wouldn't they still show like the trail of the flare?
You would think so.
Yeah.
But apparently this guy's done it a couple different times. The people in Morristown, New Jersey were caught doing it, and they actually did it again for authorities to show them what they were doing. And then apparently in Stephenville, Texas, there was another report of somebody doing the exact same thing and getting the exact same result. And it almost goes back to what we were talking about before with investigators going in and making stuff up. It gets hard to start to figure out what's real and what isn't when you have people that do stupid shit like this.
Right. Yeah.
And people and get people off guard when there really is something that happens and you go, well, what is that? Because I've seen the Phoenix Light stuff from 97 and there's no explanation for it because you watch them go out and come on and they stay in a pattern. But apparently this guy can do the same thing or very close to the same thing with road flares on large helium balloons. And we're talking like big, almost, weather-sized balloons.
Like weather balloons.
Yeah.
Who has time for that?
Right.
Somebody who needs a fucking job, apparently.
I'm going to tie up all of these massive weather balloons together and put them in an exact formation and put some flares on them and make sure that I get them up in the right spot so that everybody can see them.
Right. Okay. Muzz says, I'm on Wiki right now, and there was a spectrum analysis done on the color.
I think it was you, Adam. You did it, didn't you?
Yeah. Adam was like, wasn't me.
Oh, see, it's not man-made according to the wiki.
Yeah.
Wiki, what?
Yeah. It's wiki, what? But I mean, are you guys waving your arms? Hey, Mike, give it to him. Give it to him, Mike.
Wild, wacky, waving arms man. Wild, wacky, waving arms man. Everything you read on Wikipedia is absolutely true.
Oh, man.
Rod said, it's on the internet. It must be true. Yeah.
The crazy thing is, and it kind of, that ties into the whole paranormal thing, that you've got, that there's got to be some truth behind it, but then you run into these people who falsify it.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you not want to believe it.
Right.
Because, okay, well, so-and-so did this, so it's got to be fake. But at some point, it's been seen and it was a real thing and they just wanted to mimic it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate being a genius sometimes.
Yeah.
Muzz said, I want to believe it's true, so it's true. I found evidence supporting my views. Ha ha ha.
I'm with you, Muzz.
Yeah. See, I want to believe the Phoenix Lights are true. I want to believe that.
I do too.
I want to believe all of this shit is true.
I want to believe Elvis Presley's still alive too, but
he is.
He is.
He was just down at the marathon the other day when I was getting gas. Yeah. But I mean, okay, Muzz brings up
yes,
a good point there. Wouldn't the government try to cover it up if it was batshit crazy, unexplainable?
Yeah.
Well, they have. That's just it. They already have.
Yeah,
Area 51.
Area 51. Yeah, Roswell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen the pictures from Roswell from 1947. Of the silver aluminum foil looking weather balloon. But this guy that heard the crash and all the other people that heard the crash. Is that weather balloon going to sound like that? Is it going to sound like something crash?
No.
No, it's not. And I truly believe that somewhere out there in Area 51, they've got that little bastard locked up somewhere, probably gutted like a fish, and ran all kinds of tests on it.
Yeah.
I thoroughly believe that.
I agree.
You're probably right.
Yeah. I mean,
Once again, you know,
hey, you don't believe me?
No.
Watch the Megadeth video, Hangar 18.
Right.
I saw it. I believe it.
Yeah, and that one little alien, it'll almost make you cry. It's pitiful.
It did make me tear up a bit.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, look what they did to E.T.
I have never seen that movie.
Bullshit.
What?
Shut up.
What? I have never seen.
There is
E.T.
actually a movie out there that you have not seen
Yeah.
that I have.
Yeah, I heard it was sad, and so I don't watch sad shit.
I'm with you, Steve. I don't either, but that one's just, you just have to see it.
I mean,
It's an American classic.
For
so
real,
is Old
it is.
Yeller.
oh, I've never seen that.
I haven't seen that either.
I did.
Did you?
Yes. Didn't
That
you?
is exactly why I
you
didn't
mean
watch
old
it.
bastard. You didn't cry.
I did not.
What? What about Marley and Me?
Nope.
Have
I've
I was
Never
going to say,
seen it.
that's why I did not watch Marley and Me.
Yeah.
not seen that.
Mike, have you seen Marley and Me?
No,
Don't. If you guys,
I have seen E.T. though.
yeah, if you guys, even you guys listening in on the podcast, if you get a chance to sit down and watch Marley and Me from beginning to end, before you do that, jump off your fucking house.
Don't tell him that. Oh my gosh.
It's less painful.
You're
than-
promoting suicide. It's not what we do here.
I'm promoting a broke leg. It's less painful than watching that poor dog suffer in that movie.
Mandy's gonna jump. It's getting too loud.
See what you did?
Yeah, Mandy jumped. She bailed on us. So
Oh,
she gone. But yeah, I mean,
come back, Mandy.
yeah, haven't seen E.T., but I totally believe in E.T.s. You know, I remember this was, I'm gonna say back 1995 or so. I was going to work. I was working at another pharmaceutical company here in Clinton. And I was on my way to work, and way up in the sky, there was this massive thing.
The moon?
No, no. It was moving, and it was reflective, and it wasn't a plane. It was round. And I remember there was like 7 or 8 cars in front of me, and everybody came to a stop on the road. I mean, a couple of the cars, people actually got out, and they were like staring up at the sky. I mean, it was the freakiest shit. I mean, that's the only experience I've ever had, you know, with a quote unquote UFO. But I mean, that it was freaky, you know. I mean, you know, Independence Day wasn't out then. You know, if it had been, I probably would have shit myself because, oh shit, they're coming to kill us all. You know.
Mose wants to know if you can repeat what you saw.
Yeah. I was driving to work, and I saw it was a spherical object in the sky. It was reflective, saucer-like, yes. But you know, it was. I mean, it was very high. You could tell it was very high. But you
Smoking some good shit, wasn't it?
No, we had drug tests. But I usually passed them. I studied a lot. But I mean, it was reflective. You know, you could see the sun shining off of it, and because at first I was
So it
like,
was still daylight.
yeah, it was daylight.
Okay, now that's crazy.
And, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, there's, like I said, there's 6 or 7 cars in front of me, and everybody just stopped, and like 2 of the vehicles, people got out of the vehicles and was staring up at it. I mean,
Did you have people in the back like honking at you, like "Get in your car"?
no, I was at the end of the line.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, it was crazy. It really was.
I have yet to experience something like that.
Yeah, I've seen
When I was in college, a buddy of mine and I were driving. I went to college out in California. I lived in Austin, Texas at the time. We were driving back right around Christmas time because he lived in Austin as well. So we were driving from L.A. back to Austin, and as we were crossing through West Texas, we had just passed El Paso, and we were in the part of Texas that there's nothing. You drive and it's flat, and it's just a whole lot of scrub and desert. And as we were going through, It was probably about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, so it was pretty dark. We stopped at a rest stop to use the bathroom, get some snacks. I remember walking back out to my car. And as I'm walking out, I looked up, and it looked like there was a helicopter up in the air, just a single light. But it looked like it was lower to the ground than you would normally see a helicopter. It was just sitting in place. You could tell it wasn't a star. It was a light of some kind. Got in the car. We started driving. I didn't really think about it. Got in the car. We started driving. And I noticed as we're going down the road, about 20, 30 minutes later, this light is behind us probably by 200 yards, but it's staying. It looked like it was maybe 400 or 500 yards above us in the air, just following us, and it followed us for probably a good 90 minutes.
Jeez.
Wow.
No sound, no nothing. Chip, who was with me, he kept looking out the window as I was driving, and we sat there and watched it follow us the whole time. I could catch it in the mirrors and in the rear view occasionally as I kind of ducked down. We'd speed up and slow down, but it kept up with us the entire time. And then as quickly it was there, it just suddenly whoop, and was gone. So
Crazy.
I have no clue to this day what the hell it was, but it apparently was interested in us for about 90 minutes.
Wow.
And this would have been back probably 1991, 92.
Very cool. Very cool.
Now I want to see lights in the sky.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, you said you.
Yeah, I've seen several, lights. Well, matter of fact, here in the backyard.
Yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, we're sitting out there, and I'm just happening to look up in the sky. See this light going horizontal with the horizon. And so I'm thinking, helicopter, airplane, and then all of a sudden that son of a bitch just shot straight up in the air and was gone.
That's awesome.
And I've seen things like that several times around here.
Wow.
It's crazy because I'm trying to search my memory for something like that I've seen, and I think that I've seen something like that, but I guess it's not very prominent, but I'm like, I sit here thinking, okay, well, I think I saw something like that once. Did the aliens I don't know, somehow blank my memory at that point?
You were probed.
Well,
what is it? The Men in Black?
Yeah, the men, kind of like the Men in Black thing. I'm thinking that I have seen something like that, but then I'm like, did I really?
I think I saw something, but I couldn't remember because my butt was so sore.
No. Friggin' idiot. Where's that button at? God, I need the buttons.
Sorry.
That's not that one. That's not the one.
All right. So we're going to take a real quick break just to throw some bumpers out there, and we'll be right back. And when we come back, if you have a cool story that you want to share, anything in the paranormal spectrum.
Ghosts.
It can be ghost. It
Aliens.
can be alien. It can be Bigfoot. It can be chupacabra. It can be fairies. I don't care.
Anything.
If you have a story, and if you have one that you've never told anyone because you were thinking, I'm not telling this story because they're going to think I'm batshit crazy. We are the people that's
Go ahead, and if you don't want to call in, you can go ahead and start typing it out right now, and we'll read it.
And we'll have someone read it. But we're not going to judge you at all.
This is a no-judge zone.
Yes, we're just like Planet Fitness. It's a judgment-free zone right here.
We are a judgment-free
Free plug.
zone.
Free plug. They owe me money.
They do.
Maybe they'll give me my membership next month free, too.
Doubt it.
Yeah,
Whatever.
doubt it. All right, guys. We'll be right back.
So many people spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on that perfect infrared camera, hoping to catch that epic paranormal shot or simply to document their nighttime escapades, only to pair it up with an IR illuminator that gives off a hot spot in the center of the frame and performs subpar for their camera's capabilities. We did the same thing. Let me save you some time and money spent on multiple IR lights with one name, Deadlight. Created from the minds of Josh Bender and Justin Brown, who are also paranormal investigators, the Deadlight is the elite light to add to your camera arsenal. We have tested the Deadlight and illuminated areas up to 300 feet away. Did I mention these lights are built like a tank? Super durable and sturdy construction. Josh builds each Deadlight to meet your needs and is in constant contact during the building process. So forget the other lights out there and go straight to the best. You can check out the complete line of Deadlights on Facebook at Deadlight LLC. Justin and Josh are constantly exploring new features to add to the Deadlights. ETGS will never use another light in the field, simply because nothing else compares. Get your Deadlight today and you too can light up the night.
You're listening to Parrot Talk with East Tennessee Ghost Seekers, a new perspective in paranormal talk radio. You're listening to Parrot Talk. If you have a question or an experience to share, email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. And now, back to Parrot Talk.
Okay.
We back.
We are back.
You okay?
And Steve's over here dying. Mike, you missed it. I don't know. He either needs the mouth-to-mouth, the hiney lick, the something.
Oh, good Lord, give him the high lick. Hurry.
So,
Not it.
wait, what? Not it.
Sorry.
All right. So, we've shared our stories.
We have.
And we're sending out that call right now. Anyone listening in, if you have a story, something in the paranormal field, feel free to call us.
Because if not, we're just going to keep talking.
We're going to keep rambling on about shit that you didn't even know we knew about. So, like physics and shit.
Whatever.
Yeah, right. Mike, what do you know about physics?
The apple doesn't fall far
E equals
from the tree.
MC squared.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. And you were good there too, Steve.
I know our 8th graders working on quadratic equations. Anybody know anything about that?
I don't know, but I heard they got kicked out of the country. Oh, that's not the kid down the street.
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. My bad. But, so Mandy says, I'm thinking which one I want to tell. Mandy's got all kinds of good stories.
For real. And I'm sure each one of you have something.
Yeah.
Something, anything.
So,
I mean, we've discussed this before that
Bueller. Bueller.
Well, here's an interesting thing that goes along with my UFO sighting in my younger days, where that happened and about where the whole thing occurred. We were about maybe 50, 60 miles north, almost directly north of Marfa, Texas, where the famed Marfa lights are. And then in 1991, I actually got to go to Marfa and I saw the Marfa lights. Do any of y'all know the Marfa lights?
no.
They're not sure. Well, they're not sure if it's UFOs, but they're the Marfa lights, M-A-R-F-A, Marfa lights. They are deemed ghost lights. And I mean, literally, Marfa, Texas is this tiny, tiny, tiny town out in West Texas. It is literally in the middle of nowhere. But there's a whole viewing area now where you can go and stand, and they've got a whole place where you can go and watch these things. But out in the desert, you'll sit there and watch just a barren part of the desert, and occasionally you'll watch 5, 6, 7 balls of light that are sitting anywhere from a few hundred feet away to a quarter mile away to a mile away that just pop up right around dusk or early into the evening hours. And sometimes they'll split. Some of them just kind of blink and they get really, really bright and intense, and then they get real dim. Some of them move. There's been a lot of explanations of what they think they are, but no one has ever been able to figure out exactly what it is. And they still to this day occasionally pop up here and there. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Wow. So it's basically like orbs that we catch on our cameras, but you see with your own eyes. That's pretty freaking cool.
That's like Josh Gates when he was doing Destination Truth. I believe it was in the Machu Picchu forest, where Evan was jerked up off the ground.
Yeah.
But earlier that evening, they were catching those lights in the tree lines, that was going through.
Yeah. That is so cool. So I would like to go.
Yeah, seeing them, they were freaky because and that's the thing. They're different colors. They do different things. They're different every time you see them. And I saw them over 2 different nights. And good Lord, I was like, come on. And they just float above the desert floor. They're up from where you're staying. They look like they're maybe anywhere from 10 feet to 20 feet off the desert.
Wow.
And they just do all kinds of different weird shit. And you're just like, what the hell are those things?
Wow.
But they still pop up every now and then. So
very cool. Very cool story.
Yeah.
So Mandy joined us again. Mandy has a story. Share your story with us, Mandy.
Okay, so I've picked one because I think it's the shortest, but for your listeners, I have shared this on your show before.
Share.
Share away.
Okay, so it sounds nuts, and I only started sharing the story very recently. But so my husband, when we started dating, he would always tell me about this girl that he saw every night, and she would always be standing on the left side of his bed. So he said he did different things, like he would hide under the blankets until he woke up in the morning and stuff like that. And so one night, his parents ended up getting divorced, and he ended up moving to his dad's house in West Virginia, and he saw her there too. Again, she'd be on the left side of his bed. Before she came, he would see Siamese cats walking into the room, so he knew she was coming. So one night, he pushed his bed to the left side of the wall so that she couldn't stand there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. So, he would push his bed to the left side of the wall so she couldn't stand there. And when he woke up, she was sitting Indian style on the left side of his bed.
Wow.
So then this was before we were together or anything. So then we're dating, and I would hang out at his house because we were in high school at the time. So he lived with his parents, and I would hear weird things like right across from his room was a bathroom, and you'd hear the dog drinking out of the toilet, but then you'd look and there was no one in the bathroom. There was no dog or anything. It was really weird. So then he started using well, if you don't want to spend the night, I'm going to summons the girl to the back of your car, stuff like that. And really
That's
scary.
the way to get a girl.
And all I'm picturing in my head is the Exorcist girl. You know what I mean? So I'm like, shit, fine, I'll spend the night. So this one time, this is a couple years later after we're together. I should say before this happened, things happened in his mom's house. After he moved out, we'd be there visiting, and I was pregnant with our first daughter, and I would feel pokes on my belly, but they weren't the baby kicking. They weren't coming from inside, and they were way before you should be able to feel a baby kicking kind of thing.
Wow.
But I feel sorry, there's a big truck driving by.
It's okay.
But I would feel someone jabbing my belly, at 8-9 weeks pregnant. You wouldn't feel a baby doing that,
Right.
And it was real weird. And then sometimes his mom would say, oh, stuff's starting to act up again. I'm like, oh, great. I was cooking dinner with her one night, and all the pots fell out of her cabinet while we were cooking. You know, the cabinet just opened. They all fucking came out at our feet.
Were they in rolling papers by then?
In rolling papers? Well, I was pregnant, so no.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. I mean, you don't want to let the pot fall out of the cabinets.
Pots,
Oh,
plural.
sorry. I didn't hear the S. So.
There another time, because we stayed there for like a weekend, and this all happened while we were there. And then another time, the peanut butter fell out of the cabinet, but there was a counter underneath the cabinet, and it didn't hit the counter. It just like flew over the counter and just like hit my foot. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Which it was all weird, but you know, you feel like you can explain it away, kind of stuff. And so we're sleeping one night, and I don't know. He was like, he used to tell me, don't talk about her, because when I used to think about her and talk about her, that's when I would see this chick. But he hadn't seen her in a long time, not since he was probably 13, 14. So I wake up in the morning. The sun is out, the room is bright, it's not dark, but I see this girl, and we're sleeping in his old room, right? And I see this girl standing in the corner of his room. So from our bed to the left is the window. So she was in that corner where she was in the front of the room and the left side where the window is, you know? Mm-hmm. And she had long, dirty, dark hair, and her head was kind of down but facing me. She was wearing a dirty white dress, which is so typical, I know, of like sleep paralysis and the old hag. But I was totally awake, and the one thing that really got me, and this is the crazy part, which is why I didn't tell people for so long, is her face was canine, if that makes sense. Like, but canine in a weird way, like one of those dogs. So this is the only thing I can compare it to, which makes it sound even more incredible, is, you know, the game Duck Hunt?
Yeah.
So you know that dog?
Yeah.
Her face was so similar to that. Like, she had the big cheeks, but they weren't pixelated. She had these big fucking cheeks. She had this long tongue hanging out of her mouth. She had long, dirty, dark hair. Her dress was kind of short, but it was like all ripped up. And she's just looking at me with her tongue hanging out of her mouth. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And so I woke Danny up. I'm like shaking him, you know. And I'm looking, and she's still there. I'm looking, she's still there. And the second he woke up, I'm like trying to tell him what happened, and she's not there anymore. And I explained to him what I had seen, because for some reason, I guess he never really explained the details about this girl to me. Because when he would talk about her, I always pictured someone with blonde hair, yes, wearing a dirty white dress, but being like a normal face or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he said, he's like, no, what you're describing, that's her. That's her. That's who I've been seeing, like, my whole childhood or whatever. And I said, no, she didn't have blonde hair. She had dark hair, and her face looked like a dog. Well, whenever I saw her, it was nighttime, and I never saw her face, but her hair was definitely dark. And, I mean, I was able to move. I was able to shake him and wake him up. Like, I wasn't in sleep paralysis, you know? And it wasn't even nighttime.
Wow.
But it's just so weird, because I don't know if she showed herself to me as a dog, because I, like, used to always hear the dog drinking out of the toilet, but then there was no dog in there. And I don't know. I really don't know, but it's, like, one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. I mean, ever.
That is crazy.
Well, Rod said, turns out she was a real bitch.
Oh, my God.
I agree. But it's things that happens to you that you just can't explain, you know? And I know I was awake, and I know, I mean, other things happen in that house that I can't explain either. I have so many stories, but that's the one that, like, scares me the most, I guess.
That is trippy. I don't know what I would do if I woke up and saw, like, this woman standing in a corner with a dog face.
I know. That's
from
why I
Duck
didn't
Hunter.
Right?
For the longest time. So I was like, they're going to think I was a nut.
Well, You just
Oh my gosh.
you look at them and you say,
Does someone need a hug?
yeah, that's
Just someone need a hug.
just as simple as that.
No,
I
not
just
gonna way.
I picture this dog-faced woman, like, because remember in Duck Hunter when you missed, the dog would start laughing and cover his mouth, point over. Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah.
Her laughing and her shoulders going up and down, and she's covering her mouth and pointing over in the wall or something.
Well, that's so much scarier of a visual.
Well, I want to share a story with Mandy before we get off here with her. We had her on the podcast, about 2 months ago? About 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And we had the topic that night was demons and exorcisms, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mandy's sitting up in her room. And
Oh, dude.
You remember now, right?
Oh,
Yes.
comments on when you're done.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me take this call right here. We got Matt Fioli calling in to join us. Hey, Matt, welcome. Let me finish this story, and then you can jump in and give us yours.
Sounds good.
All right, brother. But so we had Mandy on. We were, doing the talking about exorcisms and demons and all that. And all of a sudden, it sounds like Mandy is in a struggle. It sounded like Mandy.
It was terrifying.
Yes.
It really was.
It sounded like somebody came in Mandy's room, picked her up, and was just
fighting with her.
Yeah, whipping the shit out of her. And Andrea's going, Mandy, are you okay? Mandy. And then all of a sudden it clears up, and she's like, hey, can you guys hear me? And we're like, yeah, what was going on? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And we're like, no, it sounded like you were in a struggle. And
Remember,
like,
Andrew said, I'm about to get in my car and drive down
For
there.
real.
Wow.
And then the crazy thing was, okay, she was up on the second floor of your house.
No, third.
Third floor of your house. And she's like, it's like something keeps tapping on her window. And then all of a sudden we hear this bang come through, and it was something hit her wall outside of her house up next to where she was sitting on the third floor.
And we could hear this.
And we could hear the bang up against the wall. It was freaky.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was,
I was
we caught
legit
that on
about
the
to hop in
podcast.
my car and head up there.
Yeah, she was going to drive from here
Yeah,
to Washington. I'm coming, Mandy. I'm coming.
I don't know where you live, but I'm coming.
But the cool thing was we caught that on the podcast, and
Yeah.
if you guys go back to that episode, I can't remember exactly what episode it was, but just look at the episode with demons and exorcisms, and it was crazy. It's probably an hour and 15 minutes in, or hour and 20 minutes in that it happened.
I think it's episode 43, Possessing the Will to Exercise.
That's it. Episode 43. So yeah, check out episode 43, and some good info, and an awesome event happened.
Heck yeah.
All right. Joining us on the line from Gateway Paranormal, we have Mr. Matt Fioli. How's it going, brother?
It is going great. How are you guys doing?
Doing
Yeah.
Pretty good, Matt.
Good.
Doing good. We're just, hunkered down, staying safe, doing yard work. So
Yeah, it's crazy times right now, man. It's unfortunate.
It really is.
The amounts of people getting sick and really getting very sick and unfortunately passing away. So
yeah.
definitely prayers for all the families and people getting affected by that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I know you have several stories that you can share with us, but give us, in your own words, your favorite experience.
I would say it's pretty recent. I mean, we just got done filming our second documentary, and the whole process of it was so different because we spent a little bit of time investigating other places that it just seemed to be nothing but negative stuff. And it started getting very tiresome. Like, I just want an investigation where I'm not feeling like I'm going to get like murdered by the end of the night, or
Yeah.
you know how they get sometimes. But
It's very green.
this one was, yes, and this one was very different. Like, we were fortunate to go research the history and go through the actual ledger of these patients and residents that checked into Randolph County Infirmary and learned their story and like really understood the history behind these people and what they went through. And there was, on our day 3, we ended up having a really cool session, and I guess without giving too much away, we discovered things through the digital recorder about a certain patient that we were focusing on. And we were had one of those moments, so I'm sure y'all have done it too, where, you sit around and you just kind of talk for a minute. Like, I wonder, instead of what was written down in the history books, like, what if this was a possibility? Like, you're trying to piece the puzzle together as you're investigating. And we had an EVP come through and kind of confirmed what we were discussing amongst the group. And that was fantastic. Like, that was one of the most interesting sessions I've done in years.
Right.
The fact that we were just sitting there talking and trying to piece the puzzle together, and we actually got evidence that was confirming what we were talking about. And it was just incredible. Like, I can't wait to be able to tell you guys, or y'all to hopefully see it, but it was fantastic.
Well, even we got that one point where, as we're discussing it out loud, and Casey puts the headphones back on, and it was like, you're right.
Yeah.
It's like justification.
Yeah, totally is.
On what you're doing and what you've looked into, and then you get confirmation for what you've been reading on.
Yeah.
And it's like, heck yeah. We did it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was incredible. And then, there's tons and tons and tons of stories of just
What was the location you were
crazy
at?
nights. But Randolph County Asylum, or Infirmary, they also call it. But
That's awesome.
that place was like 50,000 square feet, and we stayed there for 3 days. It was
That's awesome.
very cool.
very interesting.
Can't wait to see
We
the
had-
documentary.
That last night, there was so much stuff going on. Like, you'll see it, but we were literally just chasing stuff around the building because we thought that somebody had broken into the building. There was so much movement, and like the mumbles and stuff, like we could hear it. There was a lot of that stuff was not caught on camera, but there was like mumbling in the background, and caught some of the footsteps on camera and things like that. And then Matt Wyatt was like, "Did anybody lock the front door?" And we're like, "Nope." Then immediately we all, we walked off and was like, "Oh crap!" And you see me grab like a tripod, and I was like, "I don't have any weapon on me, but I guess I'm gonna hit a crackhead or something if they're in here."
I will beat your ass with a tripod.
Exactly.
We don't get hurt, man. That's awesome.
So yeah, it was
though.
it was awesome. It was such a refreshing investigation. I mean, after which y'all have witnessed the Hellsbar Dam thing, like that place can get out of hand pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then Wilden Manor was the same way. And we ended up going to Ross Opera House, and we were like, "Oh, this will be a pretty chill place." And then started getting a whole bunch of responses that were not very good. And I think we had one after that was pretty nasty too. And it was like, oh my gosh, come on. Like,
the Bell Witch.
Yeah, the Bell Witch. We were out there at the cemetery of John Bell, and it was crazy. It was like we got submerged in just darkness at one point.
Negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I mean, I love that place, and I love investigating whatever, but there is a time where it's like, I just want to go in here and get some cool EVPs. Like,
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a break.
Yeah.
You need something that's not negative. You just want to experience the experience.
Yeah. It's like, where's the
100%.
Where's the ghost that just tells me to get out? Yeah. I want to hear fuck you, leave one more time. That's all I want to hear.
Why do you have to come through and like make me just mind fuck myself?
Right.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome though that, it sucks to have to, that a lot of the places put you in that position of feeling the negative and, draining and all that. But, when you find that one that's just active,
Yeah.
those are awesome.
Just a location where you can collect data.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, that's some cool shit.
Ta-da, we're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was I think right before that was we ended up going back to Hales for 2 days, and I was so disappointed. Like,
Really?
I don't even think disappointed is the right term. Like, I got back. We stayed in one of those cabins that were like up on the hill.
Yeah.
And I got back to the cabin, didn't say anything to anybody on the team, and went and laid down. Like, I was so frustrated because I've never, and I'm sure y'all can attest to this, like, I've never gone to that place and it be slow.
No.
No.
I mean, you'll have some nights that aren't as active as others, but
There's
But you
always,
still get
Always
stuff.
something going on.
always something. Like Mike said it best earlier. It doesn't matter how many times you go. Every time it's like that place is wearing a different mask.
Yeah.
Did it feel like somebody had gone in and like cleansed the place?
Kinda, but I also think, well, can't say I fully think this, but one of the theories that we discussed was maybe it went, maybe some of the more hardcore part of it went elsewhere with the previous owners.
Previous owners, very possible.
That is very possible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
Because-
point.
Yeah, because
We
me and Matt and who was it with us that night, Matt, in the tunnel?
I think it's you, me, Casey, and Ben.
Yes. And we were standing
That
there.
night was insane.
Yeah. And one of the owners comes walking in, and we hear him talking to someone, and he walks the entire length of the tunnel without a flashlight. Walks the entire length of the tunnel.
He did that
talking.
a lot.
Yeah, but he was carried on a conversation.
Right.
Like a two-person conversation. And then he comes back, and we see his flashlight as he's coming back. And then he gets about halfway up the tunnel and turns the flashlight off. And we're standing down in the kids' area. And it's like he turns his flashlight off, and he's like, "Who's down there?" And we're like, "Yeah, it's us." We're like, "Who are you talking to?" He goes, "Nobody. I wasn't talking to anybody." And we're like, "Oh, we thought you were talking to someone." Okay, yeah. We're like,
Yeah, we're all kind of like,
shit.
bullshit. We just watched you have a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was with that night in mind, when we went back for 2 days, like, I would have had no issue just sleeping in the tunnels by myself.
Right.
All night. Like,
And that's crazy
There was
because
enough-
that place before it would have been like,
Yeah.
Nope.
Fuck that.
yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, Steven was there with me when we had our event there, and he got to see that weird, what I like to refer to as looking through a portal situation where everything was all bananas in that tunnel. And we had 20 some odd people behind us.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say that I could be comfortable in those tunnels, but on those 2 days, I definitely could have been.
Well, the last event that we held there, it was during the world's largest ghost hunt. We had, 63 people that showed up that night.
Yeah.
And, we had finished up like the first session, and we'd been in for about an hour and a half. And so, we called to everybody on the radios, like, hey, we're going to take a break. Let's all go outside and get something to drink and let everybody smoke and chill and whatever. Well, we had tied glow sticks, like when you come in to the tunnel from the front, when you go into the
that pipe that juts out.
Yeah, that pipe that comes out. We had hung a glow stick on a string there. Well, there's like 30 of us that come together there at the intersection, and we're looking, and that glow stick is swinging violently from side to side, and we're all just sitting there watching it. I take my flashlight and turn the flashlight on, and the glow stick was still.
And I don't know if that happened. I don't know if that happened to you at your, like you said, the largest ghost hunt thing, but that was what I was talking about when you guys were there at our event.
Yeah.
We had that glow stick tied down, and it looked like it was going from complete one side of the tunnel to the other, and it was only on like an 18-inch string.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that happened again at ours.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, nobody can, honestly, anybody that has been to Hell's Barn can't deny that there was crazy activity in that location, but it's just, I guess it's baffling that, a group that has been there before and has experienced the insanity of the place could say that they would feel comfortable sleeping in those tunnels. Yeah. That's just...
I'm not lying when I say this, like, it's gone.
Wow.
That is crazy.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
I was
Dude, thank you for that, because I was wondering. Honestly, I
was talking to Steven, I was like, yeah, man, like, I'd love to like team up and do this. We went there and I was like, oh my God, this place, like, we spent the whole weekend and nothing happened at all.
And don't think we didn't try to make something. Right. I mean, we pushed the boundaries a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that is crazy.
Wow.
That is so crazy.
Honestly, I'm glad to know that. So now, the exorbitant amount of money that they charge for that.
It's a lot. Like, I saw that price and I was like, good Lord.
Yeah. It's like, no, thank you. We investigated that place. What was it? 17 times total.
And done.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Well, guys, I'm glad you called in.
Yeah.
And after your documentary comes out, give us a shout, and we'll have you guys back on the show, and you can talk about it.
Yeah, in actual detail.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in detail.
we can divulge a little more information.
Yeah.
Good. We got another caller on the line, Andrea's buddy, the hockey man.
Oh, my hockey man.
Thanks,
guys.
But Matt,
hey, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. Good talking to you.
Be good.
Hey, appreciate it, guys.
To you later.
Stay safe.
Yes.
Sounds good. See y'all.
See you.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right. So now we have the hockey man on the phone. Adam, you with us?
TGS, you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
And what's happening?
All right, cool. I'm on my list. Hey, what's Steve Wiseman? How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good.
You weren't there last time I called.
No, I wasn't.
I have a couple quick stories for you guys to fill up a few minutes if you guys want.
Awesome.
Please do.
So the first one, it's not something I don't think we've talked about too much, but I had a visitation dream one time, and it just happened once, but it's kind of weird the way it happened. So my grandmother, maternally, I was very close with her, and we lost her back in '99. And I would say a few years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, it was in February, I was having this dream, just a normal dream, and sort of normal. I was like I think I was at like an amusement park with my son, and we were on this plane ride. It was doing loops. It was kind of weird, like one of those cargo planes you skydive out of. And I jumped out, I landed, reached back to grab my son, put him down on the ground, and I turn around, and there in front of me was my grandmother. And it was like not even part of the dream. It was like so vivid, like I could reach out and touch her. Like she had her fur on. She would always wear, she seemed to be floating, and she had like black eyes. And I just kind of got startled because I had my back toward her. And when I got startled, I woke up, and I was like, I was breathing heavily, and I was like, oh my God, like I really had to get back into the stream. I was serious. I didn't get the message. I don't know what she was there for. So a couple days later, I spoke to my aunt, my mom's sister, because she believes in all this stuff, paranormal and everything. And she believes she was visited by my grandmother in other ways. I was telling her about this dream, and she said, wait, what night did you have this dream? I said, it was Tuesday night. She goes, you're not going to believe it. She said, that would have been Grandma's birthday. And I'm like, maybe she was just there to tell me, just to remind me it was her birthday. Maybe I forgot. But it was kind of weird the way it happened. It was just, I knew it was something, and it turned out to be her birthday.
Wow.
So there was that. And And I got to tell you, every year since then, like either on, this is like February 26th is her birthday. So every year since then, like on the 25th or the 26th, I pray extra hard that she'll come to me. But she hasn't yet. But I think she will eventually.
Oh yeah.
So the other quick story I have for you here is back in about 2000, maybe 99, around the same time. I was in my early 20s. I was hanging out with this group of people. And the one girl in this group was, back then I didn't realize it, but now I look back on it, I'm pretty sure she was like an empath, And so one night, remember, I'm from Philly. So one night we took a ride over to this place. Not sure if you ever heard of it. It's called the Byberry Mental Institution. It's not there anymore. You've heard of it?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, so it's not there anymore. In fact, it's they condemned it. They knocked it down and built it in over 55 back in 06. But it was, I think, late 80s it shut down. It opened in the early 1900s, shut down in the late 80s. They finally knocked it down in 06. So one night, it was still there, not open, abandoned. Me and this friend of mine, female, we took a ride over there just to kind of look around and check things out. And it was kind of like on both sides of Route 1, in Philly there. But the main part of the hospital was on one side, and there's a whole bunch of cluster buildings around it. So we went up to one of these other buildings. It was like a porch. You kind of walk up 7 or 8 steps, and then you're on the porch area. Well, she went up before me. I was busy looking in a window, it looks downstairs into the basement. And I followed her about 15, 20 seconds later. And I'm walking up the steps behind her. Halfway up, I felt almost like two hands on me, just pushed me back right down the step, about 4 or 5 steps. And I wasn't seriously hurt, but I kind of got the message. I'm like, okay, something doesn't want me here.
Right.
I didn't give it another shot. We just went to another building, but I've only had a few experiences in my life, but those are probably the 2 most intense I've ever had.
Wow.
Very cool.
And like I told you, once the Corona thing blows over, I plan on going on an investigation and, hopefully having more experiences.
Yeah, and like
that's
I
awesome.
said, when you do, be sure and call in and share your experiences with us.
Who knows? After the Corona crap
absolutely.
goes, we may take a trip up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I thought about it. Steve, I sent you a link last week to where the place I might go, the Burlington County Prison.
Yeah.
But I thought about it. If you guys ever come up, you do something like that, and not too far, right across the river, is the Eastern State Penitentiary, and that's like the most. It's right in the middle of Philly. I've been there, but during the day, I've never done I've never gone on an investigation there.
That
But
is totally on my bucket list.
That's at the top of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really cool. What's really cool is Al Capone stayed there.
Yeah.
They picked him up on like a weapons charge, and the jail cell that he was in, they have it all done up to look like it would have when he was there.
Right.
But there's been a couple shows on TV. One or two that have been there.
Yeah.
Doing investigations on that. So, but that's totally my bucket list too. And I've lived there my entire life, and I've never gotten over there for any type of investigation. But the closest was one of the radio stations does
Right.
something for Halloween inside the terror behind the walls. But yeah, if you guys ever come up, that's a great place to go.
We look forward to it.
Sweet.
You guys there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like a lot of wind.
So anyhow, guys, hey, listen, it was nice seeing you.
It was so nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Same here. Same here. I'll call in again soon, guys. Thank you. Thank you again for everything.
Appreciate it, Adam.
See you, buddy.
All right, guys. Take it easy. All right.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.
Yeah.
Adam was getting his workout on, I believe.
He was. Thank you so much for calling in,
Yes, yes. So I don't know if you saw it, Mike, but Muzz actually sent in his story.
Yeah.
So Andrea's she's like, I want to read this.
Adam. I want to read this.
So everybody sit back.
I will have to say that if I mispronounce some words, forgive me.
Karachi and Kuiper.
I got those two. so
It and I.
Okay, thank you. God, I was so struggling on those. So Muzz writes, so this story took place around 8 or 9 years ago. I was 14 or 15 at that time. I live in Karachi, but my mom's side of the family lives in Kapur, which is village farm area. Ghost stories are pretty common there. They are accepted, actually. The people who live in the farm spaces, scarcely populated, have grew up with, is it jinns?
Jinns.
In their houses and have many stories relating to their good and bad experiences with them. My grandfather doesn't think much of jinns since he claims they live... I'm not sure what that is. HHIL. I'm not sure.
Okay.
The story begins that he was telling one of his stories to me and my cousins. We were spending our vacations there since farm life is greater than city life. And the elder cousins didn't, but it ultimately convinced him to take us to his childhood house where he had those encounters. We went in an old Jeep, and this house was located at the outskirts of the town area near the farmland. It was a huge house and had like a big freaking lawn, huge trees, and like 2,500 to 3,000 yards built area, like textbook haunted house. We went inside, and it was very ominous from the inside. Like the silver cutlery was sparkling, yet the house was so old there were bats in few of the rooms and stuff. 10 minutes into the place, and we'd hear footsteps from the above floors, which was enough to scare most of us shitless. On top of that, we could hear piano synths from another part of the house as well. This house was abandoned for more than 50 years, and it looked the part except for some weird furniture and cutlery that seemed immaculate. Well, the scariest thing happened was that I abandoned my cousins and grandfather and went back to the car where the driver was. On my way back, they were going upstairs, and I was like, nope. I saw a girl, or whatever it was, long hair, and her legs weren't visible, but her silhouette was very, very visible. As I stood there looking at her, so terrified, I couldn't move. And another figure appears beside it, and they laughed and left. They giggled, and I started crying. Thankfully, the driver was near, and I had to pull my shit together to not look like a pussy. My cousins felt eerie vibes, and one of the elder ones claimed he saw a silhouette too.
Wow.
That's intense.
That's an awesome story.
Wow.
And they also said it's one of those encounters which makes them believe in religion now, you know. By some weird logic, if jinns, demons, ghosts exist, God exists.
Yes. 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 Very cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so while you were reading that,
your computer decided to go crazy.
Yes, it did. While you were reading that, Vacuum Your Couch wanted to know if they could call in. So yes, vacuum your couch and then call in. Did you get that? Vacuum your couch, then call in. Oh, yeah. Okay, and they're calling in. Here we go. Let's get them on the line. Hello and welcome to Paratalk.
Hi, how is everybody?
We are doing great. And yourself?
I'm okay. I don't have any complaints. Do you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yes. We hear you perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I mean, I have on some decent headphones. I'm not sure what the quality is coming out.
No, you sound perfect. Yeah. Sound like you're right here with us.
Okay. I do have small children running around as well. So just, I guess if you hear them, I'll try to settle them down. But I was actually going to give you guys some insight on what I've gone through. I think I have some type of special intuition. I haven't really touched in on it. I've had experiences my entire life. I can remember experiences far back as being 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's weird because I don't ask for it. You know, I'm actually a very timid person. I'm afraid of a lot of things. Like, I'm 27 years old and I'm still afraid of the dark.
Oh.
It's okay.
But
I'm afraid of spiders.
Well, it's weird. I'm afraid of spiders too, but the dark, it just gets me every time. Like, I cannot be in the dark. And it's just because I think a lot of the experiences I have had have been in the dark, but not all of them have been scary. But the most recent one, it enlightened me a lot, and it was very terrifying. So when I was younger, when I was in the 6th grade, I live in the Texas Panhandle, and we have an old prisoner of war camp out here. It's an Italian prisoner of war camp from World War II. And as kids, we thought it would be cool, you know, to go out there and like goof off. And they have an old chapel there that, oh, it's haunted. You know, nobody's ever seen anything, but it's like one of those, go out there, turn your headlights off, say the Hail Mary, and you're going to see a ghost. But it's just, right. You know, we're dumb. We tried it, didn't work, whatever. And we were also naive to believe that it was haunted because it's really dusty, but there's like footprints on there. You can see where items have been touched, but it's a locked chapel. And then us, you know, being young, we're like, oh, it's haunted, not realizing anybody could go in there, you know, break a window, go in. There was windows broken. Anyway, so 3 years ago, I started having some really, really crazy experiences. I was having cabinets slamming shut. I was having drawers open. I was hearing all kinds of noises, lights, on and off in the house. And I started having these insane dreams of fire, like my house on fire, all kinds of things. Every night I would wake up in the middle of the night, like sweating and panting and freaking out to my husband, like, oh my God, our house is on fire. We have to get out. And he'd like roll over and shake me and be like, can you shut up? Like, you're fine. The house is not on fire. Calm down. And it kept happening and it kept happening. And I had just had a baby, and I was freaked out, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. This is bad. Like, there's something not right. You know, something is very mad at me. I'm not like super huge on like demons or believing in demons. I'm more of like, everybody's a spirit, everybody's like some form of energy, and you're either happy or you're not, you know, you're either really pissed off or you're super chill and you're happy and content with how you passed on. The experiences of the dreaming started getting worse and worse, and I started dreaming a man standing at the end of my hallway on fire yelling at me. And it was just repetitive over and over, and it wasn't like a painful screech. It was like a demonic deep growl. Like, he was very, very mad. And so I contacted my aunt, who has some affiliation with, I guess, a spiritual healer. She lives up in Oregon, and she's super trusted. I mean, super well known, super trusted. And I was like, well, you know, I'm really skeptical when it comes to people like that, because how much do you know about me already? But I don't have any social media. I don't have, you know, there's nothing that would have linked me to her other than my aunt knowing her number. Wow. And I called her and I told her what was going on. And she was like, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and, you know, work on you, do a reading on you. We'll tell you what's going on, and we'll go from there. Well, she tells me that this guy, the spirit, was a male spirit. He had attached himself to me when I was 12. And he's been trying to get my attention since I was 12. So for, you know, it had been, I don't know, another 12, 13 years that he had been trying to get my attention. All of these experiences that I was having, he was just giving me subtle hints like, hey, I'm here. You know, I know you can see me. Why are you not acknowledging me? Mm-hmm. And I guess I wasn't familiar with it. I wasn't, you know, I had never been introduced to it formally. I was raised in half Catholic, half Southern Baptist. Like, we were just, it wasn't something we acknowledged. Right. And after getting out of school and, you know, this happening, I've learned more about it. I've gotten more into it. Well, this lady tells me, you know, he's attached himself to you, and he's angry because he says that you know he's there and you're not acknowledging him. So I'm like, well, that's fine, but what does he want me to do? And what's the deal? Why me? Why is he bothering me? She's like, because he knows you can see him and he wants you to bring him justice. And I'm like, okay, like what's going on? And she was like, okay, well, this guy who, I don't remember how old he was, 14 or 15, he was murdered out a mile away from that prisoner of war camp in an old abandoned house. It was like a really cruel prank. He was really nerdy, I guess, in school. The cheerleaders, varsity cheerleaders, lured him out to that house with sexual intentions that were never going to happen. And they tied him to the tree and shot him. He didn't die. So they put him in the house and set the house on fire.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Dang. Wow.
And so this lady is telling me that. She's telling me all of this. And I'm from this town. I've lived in this town my whole life. It's a small town. It's not a huge city. Our population is probably like 15,000 people.
Wow.
And I started asking, my elders and my mom and my aunts, and I'm like, do you guys remember this? And then once I asked them, they're like, where did you hear about that? And I'm like, well, the lady in Oregon told me.
Wow.
So I started digging more into it, and I was like, there's something not adding up. Like, what's going on? Why have I never heard about this? There's all kinds of like, oh, this guy hung himself here and this guy shot his wife there. But that story particularly, I had never heard of. And I went to the library and I had to get in the old archives of the newspapers and look it up. And it ended up being there. It was back in like 1990, 1991 that this happened. And it did happen, and it was unsolved, and nobody was ever charged for his death.
Wow.
And
wow.
I even contacted the sheriff, who was the sheriff at the time, and he didn't want to talk to me about it. And I was like, but why? Why was this just swept under the rug? Now I've got this angry person who wants me to help him and I can't,
Mm-hmm.
And after I talked to the spiritual healer, she could communicate with him. I mean, I probably could if I opened myself up more, but I'm not to that point yet.
Right.
And, she talked to him and she let him know that he was frightening me. She understands he's angry. I understand he's angry, but as long as he's going to be frightening me and scaring me and like making me fear for my life, then he's not welcome around me.
Absolutely.
And
wow.
Ever since then, he's kind of calmed down. I mean, there's nothing scary that happens anymore. Nothing scares me. There's no more fire dreams or anything like that. But I do go to his grave. I do acknowledge him. I've tried to contact his family and they don't really want to talk about it. They don't, so I let them have their peace. And, the spiritual healer is like, just talk to him. That's all he wants. He wants to be acknowledged. He wants to, he knows he's not going to get justice now. You've tried, but he wants you to talk to him. He wants you to be his friend. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I'm talking to him. He doesn't talk back. But in a sense, he just lets me know he's here. Like every now and then I'll have like a random object move, or my curtain will move, or the other day the coat hangers in my closet started swaying. Like it's always just something different.
Wow.
I mean, my question would be, just why would they brush it off and not try to investigate it anymore?
I know.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to know too. And
why are they so quick to just brush it off?
One of the people that was involved, one of the guys, there was a guy that was involved in this. He was actually, he's serving a prison sentence, but for an unrelated crime.
Ah.
Wow.
So I really don't know why, but apparently he attached himself to me, that one night when I was 12 years old, and I went out there to the prisoner of war camp because a mile away is where it had happened.
Wow.
Well, I just want to commend you for acknowledging him and taking that time out to go and sit at his grave and talk with him. I mean, that there's not many people in this world that would do that.
True.
And, I guess he attached himself to you because he felt something with you that led him to eventually
comfort.
You would find out something that would lead you to him, to give him, just like Andrea said, that comfort. So
yes, and I think that's really all they're looking for. And I don't know how good, how well you guys are like involved in spirituality, or if you even are. But I read a lot of articles about, I guess, communicating with other realms, or, you know, like they're there and they just want to be acknowledged. And it's weird because like we're in denial. Like I think most of humans are in denial. Like once you're dead, you go to heaven or you go to hell or whatever, you know, whatever your belief is.
Right.
But in all actuality, like we don't ever leave, you know? I mean, it's like we're still here and they're here, and some of us can have tuned in enough to where we can see them, hear them, feel them, and others of us, you know, haven't. But they just want, you know, they don't understand, like, why aren't you, I'm here, why are you ignoring me, you know?
Right. And maybe they don't realize that you don't, like some people can't see them.
Don't have the ability. Yeah.
And that's why, you know, like we've brought this up before on the podcast, like young kids, you know, young kids are innocent. They've not been taught, you know, that's not real, you know, and they'll look up and you'll see them looking up over your shoulder, you know, when you're holding them, and they're smiling or they're scared, you know, and they're not looking at you. They're looking behind you.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That's like,
that's happened to my kids too.
Yeah.
And I solely think it's like whatever, there's been a lot of instances. A lot of them have been terrifying. A lot of them have been, oh, I'm here. It's just a subtle little, I'm going to wiggle your curtain, or, you know, just whatever, something subtle. But then there's been other events where my daughter, she's 9 now, but when she was 2, she was playing with somebody in her closet, and it was just her and I at the house, and she came out into the hallway and she was crying, and I was like, what's wrong, and she said, there's a monster in my room, and I was like, okay, let's find it, because at that time monster was bug. I mean, any bug was monster, so we were like, let's go kill the monster, it's a bug. And we couldn't find it, and then she walked out into the hallway, down at the end of the hallway, and was staring at me at the other end of the hallway, coming out of her room. And I was like, Alicia, there's nothing there. There's no bugs. There's no monsters. And she was just pale. I mean, she was staring up at the top of the end of the hall and was not even acknowledging the fact that I was talking to her. And I was like, holy cow, what's going on? I was freaking out. Wow. I walked up to her and I was kind of shaking her, and I'm like, Jay, like, what's going on? You know, are you all right? And she was like, Mommy, the monster. And then she started just screaming. And I was like, what is going on? And I watched her eyes follow something across the hall, down the hall, and into the closet of the water heater. And then she just like snapped back into it and had a mental breakdown. Wow. So there's been super terrifying events, and then there's just been other subtle. But I think all in all, they're coming to you for a reason, you know?
Yeah.
For whatever reason that is, they're showing themselves to you for a reason.
Yeah. That's like a fellow paranormal investigator on here, Rod at Spirit Pro. He said, my investigations have convinced me 95% of ghosts/spirits are all about spirits having something to communicate to we, the living. And
yes.
I mean, that's totally it. I mean, you know, get that message out, you know, unfinished business, you know, a last I love you, you know, to someone you didn't have a chance to say I love you to.
Well, Muzz brought up a good point too. They said, I think we focus less on the ghost and afterlife stuff because life is busy and stuff like that. So they also believe that people are scarier than any demon or ghost.
I agree.
And the amount of shit people are capable of makes ghosts laughable from that point of view.
Yeah. There's some crazy freaking people in the world for sure. But
hey, I got a question for you. Did this story happen in McLean, Texas?
No, it's up north. I'm actually in a town about 45 miles southwest of Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
It's a little town called Hereford, beef capital of the world. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, Hereford. Okay. Yeah, Hereford. Yeah, I'm from Round Rock, so yeah,
okay.
I know Hereford.
Nice.
I mean, I was born in El Paso, but
I drove through Texas once.
Like 8 hours away. I drove through Texas once.
I've drove through Texas several
I
times.
saw it on a map.
I had a steak there once at a truck stop.
I'm sure it was steak.
How funny.
I hope so. It was delicious.
Hopefully.
Well,
I'm hoping a mistake. That's all we have here.
Rod at Spirit Pro says Brown Rock Donuts. Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Big orange donuts.
Well, thank you for calling in and sharing your story. We totally appreciate that.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
I mean, it's, like Matt Fioli was saying earlier, it's nice to hear something that's not just gloom and doom and scary shit. I mean, that, it was scary to you growing up, of course, but then after, you got older and you got in touch with this person and you found out how to deal with it, it's turned into an awesome experience.
Yeah, it actually is. And not a lot of people are fortunate enough to have these experiences.
Very true.
Yeah.
That's what I don't remember who said it, but that he had the instance where he was in the tunnels and they didn't see anything, but then somebody else. Yeah. So I mean, it's some people just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It can be terrifying and it can be a blessing, just whichever way you want to look at it, really.
Exactly.
Hopefully blessing, because terrifying is just misery for the rest of your life.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah. And just so you know, one of our listeners, Muzz, he said, cool story. You're a good human being. So, yeah.
Thanks, Muzz. I try. I'm on a spiritual enlightenment, so I've changed a lot in the past couple of years.
We've all
Aren't
changed
we
a lot.
all, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
okay, well, thank you guys for letting me tell you my story.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And feel free to call in
you.
any week and share more stories with us.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. You have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.
All right.
Awesome.
This has
Very
been
cool.
a fantastic episode.
It really has. Really has.
I mean, I hate that Amy had to miss it, but
But it's been a great episode.
it's been a great episode.
I mean, and we had our boy Mike. I mean,
We did.
He's right here. I'm looking at him inside of his bunker.
I'm looking at him from the side.
Yeah, I'm looking at him inside his bunker, and I've not seen any kind of rabid animals running around behind him.
That's true.
It's because he's already ate them.
Yeah, you're right.
That's right. Me and the dog now. That's it. And she's staring at me. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it looks like you're on the plate tonight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, so I guess that's going to
Hey,
do
and
it.
big thank you to Muzz for hanging out with us all night, all the way from
Yes,
Pakistan.
and Rod and everybody.
What the hell? Pakistan.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you all tuning in.
Yeah, and it was good catching up with our buddy Matt Fioli.
Absolutely.
From Gateway Paranormal, and everybody keep a lookout for their new documentary coming out. Should be interesting. I know their last one was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. So whenever that comes out, we will post a link to it, and so that way everybody can check that out. I think it'll probably be on Amazon Prime.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it got posted on their Facebook.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you to everyone that has tuned in this week and everyone that has come into the chat room.
Our new ones,
our
our seasoned ones. Thank you so much.
And everyone that called in.
Yes.
Lots of great stories tonight. And a big shout out to Mandy.
Yes.
From Vodka and Ghost and Twat, did you say?
Yes.
So if you guys are into funny, you got to check out Vodka and Ghost and Twat, did you say? I love that name.
You my girl, Mandy.
I love that name. But until next week, everyone just stay safe.
Please.
Yeah.
We want you back.
Yes, we want you all to come back and listen in every week. I know we cut up and we say a lot of BS just to keep the airwaves going, but we really do appreciate every one of you all that come in here and listen and chat in this chat room and talk with us.
And I mean, what else do you have to do? You're kind of trapped in your house.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So just do what
I'm essential.
Yeah, you're essential, Steve. I thought I was essential, but
Not so much.
They decided against that.
You are
the
no
other day.
longer essential, man.
That's okay. I'm essential here around the house.
That is so true.
But yeah, just take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Don't go out in public places if you don't have to. And if
Wash
you do,
your hands.
follow the
Don't lick your
rules,
neighbors.
unless they're hot. That's so going to carry on forever. Don't lick your neighbors unless they're hot.
Unless they're hot.
But we welcome you guys all back next week. Same time, same bad channel, right here on Podbean.
Glad you found us too, Vacuum.
Eastern Standard Time.
And you too, Muzz.
And what was that, Andrea?
I said, Vacuum said, this is an awesome channel. I'm glad I found you guys. And so did Muzz. So thank you.
Guys.
We
Thank
appreciate you so
y'all.
much.
We so appreciate it. And thank you, Mike, for taking time out of your evening and joining us.
Of course, it's busy down here in the bunker, but I can always spare a couple hours for a little podcasting with you guys.
Well, we appreciate it, brother. We appreciate
Makes
it.
my heart go putter.
Are you sure that was your heart?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I had to think about that.
Because there was a putter, but it was on the other side of the room
was.
from Steve.
It was.
I don't think it was from the heart.
No, my heart don't putter.
Vacuum said so jealous of the bunker life right now. Same.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. For Paratalk, I'm Steven.
I'm Steve.
I'm Andrea.
And I'm Mike.
And until next week, stay spooky, my friends.
That's all, folks.
You've been listening to Paratalk with the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. If you have a question or comment about the show you've just heard, or you have an experience to share, or you need to contact us concerning an investigation, feel free to email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. That's 865-264-0448. We invite you to find and like the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us online at easttnghostseekers.org. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Paratalk.